Sheriff, here we are again, starting up the Sheriff's Office podcast, and so that's pretty cool. I'm excited to start getting back at it again.
So am I, Tommy. It's exciting to be able to do this again. And for those of you who don't know, Tommy was gone. He was in Africa doing an African safari with his cameras, so he's back, and we're back in business again.
Yeah. And we're joined by Commander Bonnelycke. So you bring a whole lot of experience and knowledge with you into the job of commander. Can you get you to talk a little bit about yourself?
I'm 32 years into my career. I retired in 2018 from Park County, where I was in command for 8 years at the same level that I'm at now. I spent a majority of my career since 2001 in investigations. So I dealt a lot with major felonies, a lot of homicides. When I moved into command, obviously at that point it's all administration. So I ran all of operations in Park County up until 2018, just before the sheriff had asked me to come over here. Thought it was a good time for me to make that transition, retire, and then come to Teller County. So,
Tommy, what people don't know is actually Spin and I started our young careers together in Park County a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
It's interesting to have Spin come over here and work, and I've watched him throughout his career and have been friends and known him for many, many years, but I also know what he could bring to the table here also. So having Spin here now as a part of the Sheriff's Office command team just brings a whole lot of experience and capabilities that we need. So it's been a joy to have him over here.
Well, Commander, thank you for joining us here today, letting us get to know you a bit.
Tommy, we get a lot of requests almost on a daily basis about, do we have a suspect? Can you give us an update on the female party? The problem is that when we have a criminal investigation like this, we're not able to give a lot of information. There's a lot of policing organizations that are involved. We can say that there was a crime committed. We believe it was a very heinous crime, and that that female party was terribly hurt during this, but she's still in the hospital. It's not like you watch the 48 hours or you watch the 72-hour detective shows. There's a lot of information gathering. There's search warrants to be written, maybe arrest warrants depending on where we're at in the case, but it takes time, and we can't give out pertinent information that may affect the case later on. That case is going to be tried in our local county once we do have someone in custody. We can't give the information that maybe the jurors might see later on either that could hurt a case farther down the road. So there's a lot of information that we just can't release. And I know people want that information. And yes, is that we want to be transparent, but we can't be transparent in a case where we could lose the case later on. Maybe those people that we're looking at are in the community that we don't want to tip them off to something. So there's all types of different things going on in there, and we just don't give out that information.
Now, one of the things that we can talk about some, and the kind of the good news out of this, is that the dog came out all right.
The dog is making it and doing very well. We did pay for the surgeries that were involved to make that animal do well. We're very proud of the fact that the animal is now able to be around people and do those things. The one thing with a dog is, and we have a lot of requests to put the dog on air and talk about those things. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the dog still has an owner. And that owner we need to ask permission of, and we can't do that right now. So when we have the ability to do so, we can release more information about the dog. But I will tell you the dog is in great health right now, doing well, and we're very excited about that. That's a whole nother subject that's separate from everything we're speaking about. But there's a big issue in this state with cartels. Cartel violence is getting worse. We're seeing it in things we're dealing with on a daily basis. I will tell you, if you see fentanyl in a community, you have cartels. If you're seeing methamphetamines in a community, you have cartels. Cocaine in a community, you have cartels. It's not affecting just big agencies anymore. It's affecting rural Colorado. It's everywhere within the state. Why is that? Why do the cartels do well here? It's because of our immigration policies. And that's where it circles back to. Right now, they're dealing with the Venezuelan organizations and gangs out of Aurora. Where do those gangs come from? Venezuela. That's why they call them Venezuelan gangs. How do they get here? Cartels are hiring them. And they are an organized crime group. Yes, and there's a lot of news coming out of Aurora right now with what they're doing in Aurora. Recently, the Venezuelan gang, and were given the green light by whatever organization or within, that they're going to do harm to law enforcement officers. They're going to actively seek to kill law enforcement officers. That's a serious issue.
And that's statewide, correct?
That's statewide. That's actually nationwide.
Nationwide.
At this point. The biggest piece out of that's Denver, though, because Denver has the highest group of Venezuelans working throughout because of our immigration policies.
So, did I understand right when we were talking about this, you had said something about the reasons that they're operating out of Aurora, out of Colorado in general, is because of the nation, we have the rules that are most attractive to them coming in and operating out of Colorado.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is the biggest reason we're seeing it. And it's driving crime in Colorado. Colorado is now, I was reading an article yesterday that 50% of people in Colorado that are leaving Colorado are leaving for the reasons of, A, it's a very progressive agenda in Colorado, but it's because our crime rates are going through the roof. And I know the state and the attorney general would love to say, hey, there's not these issues, there's not these problems, but I think Sven and I and the whole command staff see it on a daily basis. Our crime, even in Teller County, has probably tripled for major crimes since when we were young deputies, before this immigration issue. So I look at it two ways, right? You look at the issues prior to the illegal immigration issues that are coming in Colorado, and now with what we deal with, the illegal criminal activities of criminal illegal aliens. Now it is extreme. It is a total different world in Colorado in the last 8 years. And that's not a political agenda. That's just saying since we started allowing the immigration issues to take over that social agenda, to drive all these personal agendas to create immigration in the state of Colorado, this is now why we have these issues. And it's affecting everyone in the state of Colorado, either financially or being victimized, and many, many more issues.
And all of our deputies are running the best they can. I mean, there have been some classifications or reclassifications on some of the crimes that we had on the books before, where the legislature had either decriminalized certain aspects of it, reduced the penalties of certain crimes, mostly really impacting things such as narcotics, things such as auto theft. I mean, some of those have been kind of reduced in the level of what they were previously. Our deputies still work extremely hard. They still work when they're supposed to. They work a lot of overtime in order to serve the community that they're sworn to protect. They don't give up on that, but they'll do the best they can. They will make sure they follow the laws that they have to, but they work to the point where they can try to bring the best case they can to where it doesn't get kicked out on a technicality or some of the law changes that occurred here, even just this last legislative session. So I see the deputies just giving their all, and I don't see that backing down anytime soon. They're hardworking personnel, and then we're real appreciative of that.
Yeah, I think law enforcement in general works extremely hard. What's happened, though, is the tools that were used to really deal with hardened criminals are missing.
They've been taken away.
They've been taken away. And then the other side of it, too, is you have a state of Colorado within Department of Corrections, parole, probations, where they don't have the same functions that they had 10 years ago. And I know everyone goes back to, well, we have to do these programs. We're going to release people. We're going to, that's what helps not have reoffenders. Is it really working? Is it really working for Colorado? I'm not seeing it. What I'm seeing is that it's been a detriment. It's putting the lives of my deputies at risk. It's putting the lives of probation and parole officers at risk. And it's not slowing down, and it won't slow down until we actually start incarcerating people for what they've done and holding people accountable for what they are doing to others. You can't continue to create victims in Colorado at this rate. I mean, someday that pendulum is going to swing back going, we need to be harsher in dealing with these things. So at some point it's got to change, because right now the threat towards the deputies and the citizens in Colorado is immense, and it's just going to get worse. And I'll be honest, a lot of driving the driving factors in a lot of the crimes we're dealing with right now, assaults, sexual assaults, burglaries, are all driven by cartels. It's all over money, drugs, guns, sexual trafficking. Those things are driving everything in Colorado because cartels, that is their main body and function.
Okay.
If you look at law enforcement in general, we are all resource dependent. And that's just not to the material aspect of it. We also are resource dependent on other agencies, parole in particular. Parole used to be a very large asset to law enforcement and just the average patrol deputy or patrol officer. The problem with that, because of some of the legislative changes and some of the directions that the state has gone, most of those parole agents their hands are tied. They used to be able to revoke parole based on violations. They're not allowed to do that anymore, only under certain circumstances. 9 times out of 10, that has to be shipped up to a higher level of supervision to make that decision for them, even to the point of issuing a warrant. We were dependent at one point tracking down a parole client that we may be a suspect in. That resource is gone. We can't use that aspect of it we'll find another way of dealing with it, and we always have. But unfortunately, things like that do impact us, and that really kind of reduces some of the resource that we have and availability to be able to do our jobs. We'll find another way. We always have, and we have now. But those are some of the things that does impact law enforcement as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things is resources, Tommy. We do not have the state resources that we did at one time, right? They're just not there anymore. They don't have the resources at a state level anymore. Every agenda that's coming out through the Attorney General's office or through others has more to deal with social impacts and very left-leaning liberal mentalities than they do actual enforcement and protecting citizens. And that's what we see, right? So if it's not a political agenda anymore, there's no money being put towards it. Last year, when we attempted to change the legislation on the immigration control measures that were put into place in both 2019 and 2021, they were told at a legislative body that the Venezuelans and the cartels are taking over Colorado, and then we were told that there's no such things from the legislature to us openly, verbally, that there's no such thing as a cartel, no such thing as an illegal gangs, there's no such thing as immigrants, there's no such things as violent crimes, and that all we are doing is fear-mongering to the public. I find that very interesting now because I'm reading articles out of Aurora talking about the Venezuelan gangs, how bad they are, the cartels and what they're doing. And we have been saying this for years, and you've had political agendas saying none of this is true. It is true. It is happening. It is going to get worse. And I would tell all of our citizens, be prepared for those things. You know, we are preparing as a sheriff's office to deal with those, and we are dealing with them. But we can't be everywhere. So be prepared in your own homes to deal with those issues. It's coming to all Colorado, and it's sad that I have to say that.
Something that could have been a bad situation that turned out to be very good is the tornado that was touching down between Rainbow Valley and Gillette Flats up there. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. But what we're seeing is the community really come together to help those people up there. It's amazing. I went up to Dan Williams' place yesterday, and just seeing the community coming out to help. Chainsaws and machinery and hands, and from guys that had retired years ago to a kid, an Eagle Scout and his friends. They're out. All sorts of people are out there helping that. I just thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about how Teller County. That's kind of the norm here, and that's pretty great.
It is. It's we coined it during COVID. It was Teller Strong.
Yeah.
And Tommy, what I'm finding, and you see it every day here in Teller County, is that this county and this community will come out and support each other. And Dan Williams is a recipient of that. I mean, people were up there the next day with their chainsaws and cutting, and they're putting people to work. But we see it in all other areas of the county too. When there's a need, we have huge support. I mean, Sven, you talked to that. The rural just
in a typical rural community, in the area that I come from. I can kind of tell the story the first time that when I came over to Teller County Happened to be me and several other detectives went out to go eat lunch. Somebody picked up the tab. I have never, ever heard of that. I've gotten more thank you for your service compliments here in Teller County than I have in my entire career. So that really speaks highly of Teller County and the population within the community. They extremely support one another, and they support their law enforcement community. And I think I'm pretty proud to serve this jurisdiction just simply based on that.
Yeah, we're very fortunate, and I think we always want to keep that. That's what makes us strong.
Yeah. Okay, well, Sheriff and Commander, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Teller County Podcast. I'm looking forward to getting this started again and doing regular updates for the people of Teller County.
Well, Tommy, thanks for coming back, and we appreciate you.
All right.
Well, thanks for having me. Cheers.